Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Modern Firm. I'm your host, Noah Scher, and today I'm thrilled to have Maya Weinreb with me, the CEO of Solvency Now Bookkeeping, joining me. Maya, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Maya, I'd love to get right into it and talk a little bit about your journey. You've built Solvency Now from the ground up and helping all sorts of businesses along the way. Can you share a little more about your background and what maybe led up to you starting your own firm?
I started doing bookkeeping straight out of high school. Just like, at the time it was like my boyfriend's mom's company. She had a landscaping company and I started doing the basically the invoicing, the accounts receivable and I liked money and I was good at it. And then I got another job, I was like the office manager as like an 18-year-old. Um, then I got a job as like an accounting assistant. Then I got a job as like all different names for accounting. And I moved up and up, learning more as I went, as I got new jobs. And it was like, like every job that I did, I was there like 2 to 4 years. And then it was kind of like no longer a good fit, went on to another job, learned more. The last job I had, I was a CFO for a marketing company. And it was a friend of mine's company, which is probably how I went from, accountant manager to the CFO. But I did really well, but it got to a point where he had started out having everyone remote and he decided to have everyone just be local, and I wasn't living where he was. So we decided it would be best to part ways, and we're still really good friends. And I had already been starting to have like a few just freelance bookkeeping clients on the side. So I was sort of like building, but I basically just went all in, borrowed a little bit of money to just have money to live on while I was starting my company. And I remember about like 3, 4 months into it, I was about to run out of the money that I borrowed and was like, wow, I better get some sales or else I am screwed. And the other thing, and I think I mentioned this to you before, like kind of the way that I felt as I was being the in-house accounting manager, different AR manager, accounting manager, different functions, is I always felt like I was smarter than the business owner running the company.
Mhm.
And so I always felt like I would do better if I had my own company. So that's kind of like a cocky kind of probably the way that most business owners feel when they first start out. Like, yeah, I could do it better than them. And I really was very confident in that. And then I started my company and was like, oh, I get it. I am smarter than them at accounting. And here's the thing, like most business owners, that's not their strong suit, you know? But these other business owners who had much bigger businesses than me and had been doing it a long time were really good at sales, or they were really good at delivery for their product, or they were really good at managing, which I had none of those skills. The only thing I was good at was bookkeeping and accounting. And so I kind of had to knock a few chips off my shoulder and be like, okay, I have a lot to learn. And it took many mistakes, to get there, but I did get there. And now I have a lot more respect for business owners. And it's sort of like, yeah, you're not supposed to have to know everything. You don't have to be the accountant, the lawyer, and the marketing director in order to have your own company.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with small businesses, they think that they
Mhm.
have to do it all, right? And a lot of small businesses, like you said, even if they're amazing at what they do, a lot of them struggle with their financial management. And so, why do you think it's so crucial for them to stay on top of that? And how does Solvency Now support them in taking control of their finances?
Well, it's important to stay on top of it because you cannot make informed decisions without having financial information. There's pretty much nothing that you can do. Like, should I hire another employee? Well, look at your finances. How much money are you making? How much money are you spending? How much money do you expect to make or lose by hiring this other person? If you don't have that information, you can't make that decision.
Yeah.
Let's say you want an investor or you want a loan, they're going to ask you for your finances. Let's say you want a budget, you need your finances. There's literally nothing that you can do for planning without having financial information. And I look at mine literally every day. I go, how's my income compared to this time last month? How's my income compared to last week? What's my goal? How's my income compared to my goal? How's my profitability? So and obviously I am a bookkeeper, so I'm tracking it because that's what I know. But business owners come and ask me questions all the time, like, am I making enough money to hire an employee? And I'm like, well, we got to look at your books. Like, let's look at your books. Or, they need to get a loan. During COVID, people needed to get the PPP loans and the EIDL, and they couldn't do it unless they had the financial records in place. So it was like, it just became really apparent that as a business owner, you have to have that stuff in place. It's literally a fundamental basic for running a business. I do know people, I even have some friends that are like, I never look at my finances, I never look at my bookkeeping, I just keep making more money. And I'm like, okay, if you made that work, like,
Yeah.
power to you. But I hope someone in your company is looking at the finances.
Yeah.
And the way, and to answer your other question, the way that my company helps is we are here to do that for companies, right? So we have about over 150 companies, 154, I believe, companies we do bookkeeping for. I have a team of 12 people now. Um, and we have probably over 100 million worth of revenues that we're doing bookkeeping for. Um, and we're just here to help. Like, my mission statement is complete and perfect financial records for the business owner's peace of mind.
Yeah.
So we're not the CFOs, we're not here to tell people what to do or make the decisions for them. We can't do the taxes for them, but we can give them a complete package that they can give their CPA, they can give the investor, they can give the bank, that has all the information, and they can look at to make their own budgets. So they can make the decisions, and it has all the data there, plus all the compliance pieces like the 1099s, payroll taxes. We can do all that. We're pretty much a full outsourced accounting department for small businesses.
No, totally. Exactly. Bookkeeping is not, just balancing the books. It's about giving owners the confidence to make decisions and to kind of have a clear picture of where everything's at. A lot of bookkeeping businesses, especially the older ones that haven't, adopted to this new wave, they think that they could just give reports to a company with no translation and that they're going to be satisfied with that. But the best bookkeeping businesses, it's almost like a language, and a lot of small business owners don't understand that language. So having a bookkeeper that can make everything clear for you is going to be the best to be able to make good decisions.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we definitely have, like, one of our main customer service policies is that all communication has to get answered within one business day. Because for me, I'm a millennial and I'm like, okay, but we have technology that I understand that CPAs are super busy and it takes them, like, I'm not knocking them, right? It takes them 2 to 3 weeks to be able to answer, and that is the way it is. But I wish it didn't have to be that way. So let's make my company not that way. Let's make it so you can have fast communication. We're all online. We're all, like, connected to our phones and the internet 24/7, except if we're sleeping, right? So we're really want to be that team that the client can come to and ask for help. And I do consultations all the time. My lead bookkeepers that do meetings with clients, they'll go through and explain the P&L, all that stuff. Like, we understand you're not speaking the same language as your CPA. So we have to be the translator often between the tax preparer and the client, because when they say payroll, it doesn't mean the same as when the CPA says payroll. So it's like when I say 1099 or contractor, it doesn't mean the same as what they think it means. So I have to really make sure that I'm making sense. And that's why, like, my YouTube channel and all my social media, like, I would say it's edutainment. I want to make it fun and funny and light, but I also want it to make it so people learn and understand,
Yeah.
because you have to understand when you look at your P&L. Like, one of the number one questions I get is, why is there showing profit on my P&L when I don't have this money in my bank account?
Yeah.
And you have
That's
to know why, like, what's on the P&L and L and what's on the balance sheet and what's where and why it's there, so that you can understand it to make decisions.
Yeah, and being able to explain it simply, like you said, because Maya, you're an expert in this field, but not every small business owner is, and so being able to simplify it and make it make sense, right?
I just wanted to say, not only, like, am I an expert in it, I'm an expert translator, because even sometimes my team will send me the email and be like, I don't understand what he's trying to say. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm like this expert financial communicator now, like, between what the client's trying to say and what the CPA is trying to say. Like, let me explain. I got this.
100%. And that's why I think you've amassed the success you guys have in what, 7 years?
Yeah, yeah. I started in 2018.
Yeah. So I'd love to actually dive into solvency a little bit more. I know you guys work with a range of businesses from small local ones to, probably bigger, larger clients that are more complicated. From your experience, what unique challenges do you see, across different industries, across different company sizes, and how do you guys tailor your approach when working with each and every firm?
That's a good question. I think there's probably a lot of challenges that they have, but because of how important it is to have your financial information, and I think that business owners intuitively know that, but knowing that, how do they solve it? So they have to decide, do I hire someone in-house to do this for me? But it's not a full-time job, especially with the fact that now you don't have to do data entry. You just have to do, categorization and work with the data. So it's like, okay, well, what if I get an office manager or a VA who can also do bookkeeping? And then the quality of the bookkeeping isn't good. Or they go, okay, let me get someone outsourced who knows bookkeeping, but they don't know if the person is good or not because everybody is, it's kind of trendy to be a bookkeeper right now. So I feel like that is very challenging for business owners, like finding a good bookkeeper, how to know if they're a good bookkeeper in order to have the information that they need. Because how frustrating is it if your bookkeeper has bad, slow communication or isn't that good at bookkeeping and things aren't reconciled correctly, now your taxes are wrong, or they don't keep track of due dates, now your payroll's late. Like that is just so frustrating for business owners when they think that somebody's handling it. So I don't know. I mean, obviously there's lots of challenges. Like there's getting funding, there's knowing how to manage, there's marketing. But obviously from my point of view, I can't help on all of those things. So I think that the biggest challenge that I run into with business owners is when they think they had a good bookkeeper and they didn't, and it's all messed up. Or even worse, someone who they trusted stole money from them.
Yeah, no,
So
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, let's say you're a small business owner and you have no idea what any of it means. You're probably maybe blind, right, to if someone's a good bookkeeper or not until someone else comes in and shows you, like, hey, that's the reason your books are messed up.
Exactly. And it's crazy because it's so easy for me to sell bookkeeping because I just go, okay, let's look at your books. And I'm like, do you have a bank account called gas? Oh, you don't? It shows here that you have a bank account called gas. And so it could be that you set that up and maybe you're not the best person to be doing bookkeeping. It could be you had a bookkeeper do that didn't know how to do it. Oh, your office manager did it. Okay, you might need some oversight. They might need some help because you don't have a bank account called gas. And they're like, oh. So it's really easy for me to go through it with a business owner and show them, errors in their books just on a brief inspection. And obviously they're calling me because they need help. They're not
Yeah,
calling me because everything is perfect. So if someone's calling me, they need help. I'm like, great, let me help you. I got
yeah,
this. I got you.
totally. No, I love that approach. Maya, I'd love to dive into a little bit more of your background. Before founding Solvency Now, I know you held CFO roles, Studio 98, if I'm remembering correctly. How did that experience, shape the way that you run your own business? And did you have any things that you maybe struggled with transitioning from corporate life to like that business owner life?
Oh my gosh, yes. So, like, as I was the CFO, it was a work from home position and my first one. That was very tough going from being in an office and being like me, who's like the chatty Cathy, like hi to everybody all the time. And then having a work from home position where I literally at the time was living in this little tiny studio apartment in LA by myself all day. That's a tough transition. And when people tell me they are looking for a stay at home job, because I all my employees are stay at home because we don't we're all remote, so they're all over the country. Um, if they haven't had experience with that before, I seriously have to think twice before I want me to be their first experience because it's a crazy hard transition.
Yeah.
If they have had experience, then it's a little easier. So that was one of the things that I was like, oh wow. The other thing was he was, I mean, he's a good friend of mine, but still, he was my favorite boss I ever had. He treated me with so much respect and dignity and like knowing that I could get things done. Like I would come to him with hard problems. Like we just deposited a $60,000 check and the bank says that it's going to be on hold for 14 days. And he was like, well, we need to pay payroll, so call him back and get it on hold. And I was like, I can't. And he's like, you got this. I know you can do it. And he meant it. And I was like, wow, when I have my own company one day, because I always kind of had that in the back of my mind, I want to be like him, as opposed to other bosses that I'd had who would yell at me for making mistakes. And again, it's like, I don't think that it's okay to make mistakes, but we're human and it happens. That's why you put processes in place, especially in bookkeeping.
Yeah.
You know, mistakes can happen, and that's why I have quality review, and we review everything and make sure it's perfect before it goes to the client or the CPA, right?
Hmm.
But I know that bookkeepers are perfectionists and they hate making mistakes, and they beat themselves up so much if they make a mistake. So why would I go and help them beat themselves up by getting a baseball bat and, beating them up more?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm never going to be like that boss who would yell at me for making a mistake. Like, I put the zero out of place. I know it's a big deal, but we fixed it before anything bad happened, right? So, and I was learning, and so when my bookkeepers make mistakes, I'm like, okay, good. What do we need to do? What process do we need to change so that this doesn't happen again? Or like, what review process, what different thing do we need to do so this doesn't happen again? But I'm never gonna beat them up for it, because first of all, it's not even worth my emotions. It's just like, okay, we have 150 companies. I have 6 of my team are doing bookkeeping. I have a customer service rep, all these people, right? Like, it's possible. Mistakes can happen. People have bad days, people don't notice. But
Yeah.
it's my responsibility to have processes in place so that those get caught and resolved before anything bad happens.
Yeah.
And on top of that, even if a client has something, like the client is like, they were charging cards and they were declining, and QuickBooks had a new thing where the declines were going in a different account that they weren't used to seeing. So I think it's our responsibility to point that out to the client, because they're losing money right now. And if we notice it, we can't just be like, it's not on us. We have to be like, hey, by the way, you've got a few $1,000s that declined in this account over here that you probably didn't know about. Is there anything you want us to do to help you?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for telling me. As opposed to like, really? Like, yeah, it's true. If we hadn't noticed, because it was, then it's not like our fault that their cards got declined. But how much help is it if we notice and tell them?
Exactly. And that what you said resonates with something my dad used to always say is focus on what you can control. Like, yes, mistakes
Yeah,
happen, shit happens. I'm not saying to aim to make mistakes, obviously not. But when something happens, focus on how to fix it and what to do to prevent it from happening again, right? There's no point in dwelling and, like you said, kicking
exactly.
someone while they're down. Just pick them up, put a new process, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Exactly. So I really learned, how like when you're a kid, you either end up like doing, or either raising your kids or being like your parents, or being like, I'm never going to be like my parents. Like, you get one or the other.
Yeah.
My parents were pretty awesome, but as a kid, didn't get along with my mom, but which woman does, right? But I would go through, like, every time I got a new job, I would learn from the company, from the boss, and be like, never going to be like that, or that's an example I want to follow.
Yeah.
It was, I wish that before starting my company, I would have had some more executive roles, not just in finance, and learned more, because I really started a company very cocky, but not actually knowing how to run a company, and had to like build the car while it was driving down the road and be like, oh wait, I need an accelerator. Okay, it's one of those, and I don't have to push the wheels anymore. So it's tough. And I think a lot of business owners do that because they're unemployable, right? They don't want to be told what to do. They think they know better. And we are right. We do know better at our thing. But I wish that I had learned more before I started, because it's been a tough learning experience. And like, I've seen some of Alex Hermosi's quotes where he's like, the hard thing about being a business owner is that you think it's going to be hard, and then it's much harder than that. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be some hard work here and there and make the money, but
Yeah,
the bonus
I mean,
that comes with it, especially
but
when you have employees and stuff now. I'm sure how is that, managing payroll and managing a team and
yeah,
everything. It's probably a learning curve
yeah.
as well.
You have a bad week and you have to figure out how to cover payroll. You have an employee who made a mistake and it didn't get resolved, and now a client's mad and you have to like fix that. You have, and here's something that happens a lot, clients who don't understand bookkeeping and accounting, and they're like, you did it wrong, this is all wrong, and they're upset, and you have to not take it personally and just be like, okay, let's have a meeting, let's go over it, show me what's going on.
Yeah,
And they're like, well, you put payments to me on the balance sheet, and you're like, mm-hmm, that's where they go. And then you have to explain it to them in a way that they can understand, in a way that you're not taking it personally, you're not offended, you're not fighting with them, because it's stressful, money is stressful, so you have to be like, let me help you, let
yeah,
me help you. And that's hard, it's hard, you can't take it personally, you have to just be there to help them, there's, or like, you hire someone, they come in for 3 days and then they ghost, and it took you weeks, months to find the right person and put them through the bookkeeping test, and they ghost, and you're like, hello, hello.
yeah,
It's tough, it's tough not to take it personally, like really, like, but what did I do, why don't they like me, who knows, maybe they got a better job offer,
yeah.
or maybe I'm hiring women usually for bookkeepers. It's some I run into, like, sometimes they tell me, sometimes they don't, my husband doesn't really want me to work full time. And I'm like, oh, okay. So who knows why? It probably has nothing to do with me. Maybe
Yeah.
it does have something to do with me. Maybe they didn't like the color of my shirt. They didn't like how I, manage. I have sometimes employees, when they would first start, they'd be like, you're micromanaging me. I'm like, oh, okay. And other employees, I feel like you're leaving me alone all day long and I don't know what to do. Same exact management process. Okay, we're not,
Yeah.
it's not right for everybody, it's only going to be right for who feels like it's right for them. So I have an amazing team, and one of my bookkeepers is about to have her 5-year anniversary, so she's been with me almost since the beginning, since I started hiring employees. But yeah, it is challenging, and also as a cocky young business owner thinking, I'm going to hire other people so I don't have to do the work myself, realizing that no, 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 no. I'm going to be working twice as much now. And my job is to make sure everything goes right, make sure they have enough work to do, make sure the
Yeah.
clients are happy, the employees are happy, and everything is going smoothly. Develop the processes, make sure the processes work, and have enough money for payroll.
Yeah. It sounds nice until it's like all the responsibilities on you, right? You're the one that's providing someone with a job. You're the one that's the head of everything, so it all goes back on you. So,
And if you
yeah.
have to fire someone or let someone go, you're weighing whatever they did or whatever your financial situation is against the fact that you are supporting their family. And you're like, and if you don't know what to do, and you have, who are you gonna ask?
Yeah. You ain't got no boss.
Buck stops here. If you
Yeah.
don't feel like working, I had this in the beginning. I had a really great month. I worked, like, I sold all these clients and I worked my ass off and delivered my highest ever in the very beginning, right? The highest ever I've ever done bookkeeping. But while I was so busy delivering the bookkeeping, I didn't do any more sales. So now I had nothing to do and no motivation. I had like entrepreneur depression. I stayed in bed for months. I was like, no one cares. No one cares if I get up. No one cares if I do anything. No one cares. I have no boss. No one cares if, to talk to me. And it was the weirdest, wildest thing. And I felt so alien. And then I started talking to some of my business owner friends, and they're like, oh yeah, I went through that. You'll figure it out. Because you have to realize that it's all on your shoulders, your responsibility and your own motivation, whether you get up in the morning or not.
Yeah. And I think that actually, I want to add on top of that, especially nowadays with my generation and everything, they think that, being a business owner is this super glorious thing. And while it can be, I think they tend to overlook some of the hard things that come with it, right? Like, when you have a job, you have someone that's telling you what to do, you're getting paid nice and cushy and stuff. But when you're a business owner, like you said, it is all on you. Whether you get up and try, otherwise you're not going to have food on the table, right? And no one's going to, you have no one to motivate you. You're your own motivation, your own discipline. And it's very hard to master that within your mind, I can imagine.
It's so hard because I was an employee for whatever, I don't know, 10 years. And then I was like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And then I was like, No one cares about me. I told my friends I was depressed and they laughed at me. Like, whatever, you're always, And I was like, they're like, no, do you know what depression means? Like, you like don't want to get out of bed. Like, you don't want, like, yeah, I'm literally like staying in bed all day. I'm scrolling.
Hmm.
And eventually I mentally resolved it. And obviously, like, now we're successful and I get out of bed every morning and I have shit to do. So I don't have time to just roll around in bed.
Yeah.
But you have to build it on your own. Like, it's not like someone's handing you, I mean, maybe sometimes, maybe like your parents gave you a company. But if you don't do the work to keep the company going, it's going to die. Right. So it is, yeah, it's a lot of hard work. It's 80-hour, 100-hour weeks for little money. I got a job offer right when I started my company, and I had never been paid at the time more than like 70 grand a year. Right.
Hmm.
Which was a lot of money back then, 2007, 16, 17. I was like, I
Yeah.
was doing good, making 70
Balling.
grand a year. Yeah. And so I was like, no, I'm going to start a company. And I had a friend sit down with me, and I told him I tried to start a company before, but like I kept getting, like job offers. And I was like, but this time. And he was like, no, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get a job offer and you're going to take it because you are preferring the security over the unknown. And I was like, no, 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 I'm not. No one even knows I started my own company. No one's going to give me a job offer. Few days later, someone calls me. Hey, there's this like big executive that needs a new bookkeeper in house. We heard you're really great. Can you come? And I was like, you'd have to offer me at least 150 grand a year for me to even think about it. They called
Yeah.
me back the next day. Okay, we'll give you a starting salary of 150. I was like, didn't know what to do, curled up in a ball, called all my friends. What should I do? What should I do? Like, you should take the job. It's 150 grand. And I was like, but I can make more. I can do more. I can make more than that. And they were like, okay. And so I convinced them all why I shouldn't take the job. So I didn't take the job. It took me years before I made 100 take home.
How's that feeling now, though, after, I mean, and most people in your shoes would have taken the job, the safer option. How does it feel years later, achieving everything that you probably wanted to? And
I mean, I got, okay, so 2024, we hit over a million revenue, like for my company. I still didn't take home that much. It mostly went to payroll. It's more than 150, but not like I'm buying a Ferrari. So I'm like, I don't know, man. If I would have known how hard it was gonna be to get to where, like, when do I get to be a baller? Like, when do I get to take home $1 million? You know, I'm gonna do it. Right. My first goal is like, let me get my company to 1 million. Now my next goal is let me get to 10 million. But it's not going fast. This year, I think we're gonna hit like 1.2, 1.5, somewhere in there. Um, and it's like, but it's not going like 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, right? Maybe it will. Maybe I'll figure it out and kind of get past the hump. But I'm like, yes, I finally took me three, maybe 4 years to get to where I was taking home over 150 grand. Then I got to pay taxes on it, right? So I'm like, but
yeah,
when do I get to be the baller, like the people on Instagram? When do I get to do that? And that's going to be, when I get to 10 million, if I'm able to take 2 or 3 million of it home, that would be badass. Then I'm a baller.
yeah,
But
at that point, you're baller status for sure.
yeah, but man, 10, 12 years of working, and there was months that I took home what just money to pay rent and food.
Yeah.
And my employees, there was years my employees got paid more than I did. Because I was like, okay, but they're more, not that they're more important than me, but they're the ones that are doing the work that to keep the company going. And if I'm like, yeah, sorry, bro, I can't pay you this time, they're going to quit. And then I don't have a company. So I pay them first before I pay myself.
Hmm.
Okay, what if I took that job and I was making over 150 a year? Maybe they would have given me raises. Maybe 4 years later, I'd be making 170 a year, you know? But I had to think big picture, long term, which is very hard to do. And I did not think it was going to take as long as it did. And I did not think it was going to be as hard as it was when I
Hmm.
made that decision. And I don't think that everyone could do it. Like, I want everyone to do it and I want everyone to succeed. But realistically, what is it? Like 70% of businesses fail within the first
5 years or something like
year.
that. Maybe even more than that. Yeah.
That's awful. That's awful. So I'm like, it's not for everyone. You got to have freaking grit and persistence and big picture and keep going when it's hard. And you got to have that cockiness and stupidity of like, nah, I'm better. Because if you don't have that to balance it out, then you only think about how hard it is. And if you just sit there and think about how hard it is, you just get stuck with
Yeah.
analysis paralysis.
100%. And you have to be delusional to a certain extent, right?
You gotta be high on the Delulu scale. Like you gotta be like, yo, I can drive a Ferrari, just watch me. And then
Yeah.
you know what? Probably you will in a few years. But it's gonna be harder than you thought.
Hell yeah, totally. I mean, but you have to, right, to balance it out because every single business owner that I speak with that I bring on here, even outside of the podcast, they all tell me that you're gonna have those times where everything just sucks. You're not making money, you're working more than you ever have. And so you need to always have in the back of your mind, like, I'm better than, not I'm better than everyone in the sense like human value, but I mean like that you can do better than anyone if you put your mind to it, right?
Exactly. And are you crazy and delusional when you think that? For sure. But will it carry you through the hard times? And can you get to where you're more successful? Absolutely.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
My boyfriend actually told me, he's like, you know, when I met you, I thought you were crazy. And I was like, of course I'm crazy. I love this story because I would have gotten offended in the past. But I was like, of course I'm crazy. Do you know anyone who like works as hard as I do, has accomplished what I have in the amount of time as successful as me? Like, do you know anyone who just is normal and boring and goes home and watches TV every day? Like,
Yeah, you got to be crazy to a certain extent.
you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. So I'm kind of like, I was cocky and stupid and, delusional, but you know what? It was necessary.
Yeah.
It's probably like new parents probably feel like that too. They're like, oh, but like that new baby smell. And then they're like, this is hell. Like, I don't have, I imagine, right? They're like, this is hell. There's throw up on me every day. I'm sleeping 2 hours a day. What was I thinking? So you have to have that like delulu of like, oh, but a new baby, right? Because it's hard. It's harder than you think. And I don't have one. And I know this for a fact because all my friends tell me it's harder than you think. And I'm like, okay, you guys are really encouraging me here.
100%. No, you both sides of the coin. You can't be just thinking about how hard it's going to be because then you're going to quit. And you can't be too delusional where you like just start being too egotistical and then you like slack behind on the work. So striking the balance of working as hard as you can, also being humble and knowing that you don't know everything, but still thinking that you were able to eventually get there, right?
Yes, but also, this is what I found really interesting. I would hire people to help me. Like, I hired a couple of marketing guys, and they had way more experience in business than I did. So I would end up deferring to them on some major decisions. Like, I would even ask for their advice on my business, and they would give me advice, and I would start going that direction. And if I would have kept going in that direction, my business would have closed
Hmm.
because you still, even though you don't know everything, you are fully responsible for your business. So you have to always maintain that CEO level responsibility of like, I will listen to advice, but I'm not going to take action on it unless I 100% am sure and I own it. And you have to be able to make decisions and change your mind if it doesn't work. Like, you got to be fast. Because I would be like, I would be mad because I do something someone told me to do and it didn't work and it went worse. And I'd be like, oh, how could they? But it's not on them, it's on me. You have to take that responsibility of like, oh, no, no, no. But I never give up my CEO hat, right? Like, I'm the business owner, right? Like, I am in charge and I can listen to all the advice, but it's almost like, you know how that whole thing, like, we listen, we don't judge. Like, we listen, we don't take action unless we are 100%, let's say 80% sure. And then you have to be quick. If it doesn't work, then you change it back and you go back to successful, whatever you're.
Exactly, because what's the reason that 99% of business owners start their own businesses? Because they don't want to listen to anyone else, right? They want to be their own boss. I mean, so like you said, being a sponge that is open to all ideas and all new perspectives, but not following all new perspectives or, blindly following something, even though someone may have more experience. At the end of the day, yeah, they might be trying to help you out, but it's your business, and if shit goes under, that's on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I also started looking at who is it that's giving me advice. Okay, good. So they have a marketing company and they know way more about marketing than I do. How much money does their company make?
Yeah.
right? Like, especially at this point, I'm like, all right, I figured out whatever I figured out. My revenue is 1 million. What's your revenue, Mr. Marketing Guy that's giving me advice right now? Like, it's like, okay, well, I've produced all this revenue for other people. That's nice. I'm happy. That means you can do marketing, but like, show me your product. Show me what you can do, because otherwise, why would I let you do anything for my company? Like, I want to have people more successful than me telling me what to do.
What's the quote? It's you never want to be the smartest person in the room, right?
Because if you are, you're in the wrong room.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I'm like a big like Grant Cardone, motivational, whatever. So I go to as much of his stuff as I can. And he says that all the time. And I am never the most successful people in those rooms. I'm always like, these people all make millions of dollars and they're talking about their numbers. I mean, I might be more successful than some of them, but most of those, and a lot of my friends, they are business owners making millions, tens of millions a year. And I'm just like, cool, I want to be like you when I grow up, Like tell me your successful actions, tell me your secrets. Like what can I do that you're doing, that how can I apply it to my business and do better?
And that's how you know you're doing the right thing. I mean, even for me, this podcast, if I was some super, super experienced and I thought I knew better than everyone, I would not have this podcast. I bring on business owners so I can learn from them, right?
Yeah.
And hear their perspectives, and hopefully the audience will derive some value from it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, there is that sense of insecurity, and everyone feels it when you're in a room where you're not one of the best, but at the same time you got to have that mindset shift of that's a good thing. Do you really want to be surrounded by people who are less than you? No, you want to be going up and up and up until you eventually get to the level where you want to get to.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know that I don't know if smartest, but I know that I have more actionable information on money, finances, bookkeeping than most people, right? And so, like, I am an expert in that subject. I don't know more than everybody else. There's people who know a lot more than me, but I am an expert in that subject. But I am not an expert on sales, marketing, hiring. I'm not even an expert as a business owner. I'm just like, I got it mostly good, but there are people who are experts at it who I can still learn from. Like a lot of people, there's many companies that make more than me, so, or do better than me. There's bookkeeping companies that make more. I probably have, for bookkeeping company, I have a very big company. But there's bookkeeping companies that make tens of millions a year. Like, okay, let me go figure out what they're doing and learn from them.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw a quote, I forgot where, but it was basically saying that the most successful, the most rich, whatever people, they're not good at everything. They're good at one thing, and then they hire people to do the stuff that they're not good at, right?
Yeah.
So the art of delegation, but obviously finding the right people to delegate to. You don't want to delegate to someone who's being shady or who doesn't have your best interests at heart. And so
Yeah.
kind of a mix of everything is what's going to
Exactly.
make it work.
You have to get really good at judging people, but like from a point of view of, can this person help me, on, not like, I don't care what their sexual orientation or politics or color of their skin. I care about, okay, this person trying to give me advice or help me, are they going to be able to? And you have to get really good at moving fast. And if you find out that they can't, because especially as a woman, we're like, but I like them. I don't want to fire them. I don't want to end the contract. They're such a nice person. Man, that EQ can be hard because it's like, okay, but it's not best for your company, and other employees might suffer if you keep this person. So you got to be really good at moving fast, making decisions fast, changing your mind fast.
Yeah, trying to take the emotion out of it, I guess, to not let it cloud your judgment sometimes, maybe.
To a certain degree, because
Yeah,
obviously, like, we have this conversation, men and women, the EQ, right? Like, so you go, men probably could put some more emotion into it, and women could probably take some more emotion out of it.
fair enough.
Obviously not true all the time, but in a lot of cases that could be true.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Maya, great conversation so far. Seriously, I'm enjoying it. One last question for you. So you've amassed, 150 clients managing over 100 million in revenue in a short 7 years. And so has there been a success story of one of your clients that resonates with you to this day that you'd like to share with the audience? I think that they would find some value in that.
Like, kind of like a case study, or how I was able to help them.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So COVID was tough. I feel like, you say a short 7 years, it feels like a long 7 years. That is almost a decade. Um I had clients and they were having a really hard time, and I called up all my clients and, helped them in whatever I could and made sure they were okay. And I got a new client who was a referral, like a friend of a friend of a friend, right? And he called me up, and his business, he had like an events business. So it shut down over COVID. It was dead because there was no events, and it was in California. So he came to me and said, I've got no records. I paid payroll. I think I have no records of it. The girl that was doing my bookkeeping at the time said she doesn't have the records. Can you help me? And he was getting letters from the state of California and the IRS, assuming that he had made the same amount of money as the year before when he had a full company, asking for tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. So we had to do some magic and recreate based on like barely any numbers that he did have. We had to recreate the payroll, do his bookkeeping, figure it all out. It took us many hours. Like literally, my bookkeeper who did it, I think, is magic. She figured it out. And then we had to file his payroll taxes, and we saved him tens of thousands of dollars, $30,000 or $40,000
Yeah.
in that. And he was in hot water. They were coming after him. They were gonna like lean his bank accounts, like take the money out, and we were able to resolve that for him,
Wow.
and yeah, save him at $30,000 or $40,000 in taxes.
Damn, especially at the time during COVID when everything was just blurry and rules were changing and shit
Yeah.
was unclear for lack of a better phrase, but
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a hard time, and now it's like, I don't know if we're technically in a recession or not. There's some industries that aren't doing well and some industries that are doing okay. And I just, want to be here to help my clients. So I want to help them get through it, whatever it is for their industry. And I have a lot of people like we can help. I've got CPAs and tax preparers that can help. I've got tax planners. I've got, estate planners, sales tax people. Like, because we don't do everything, but I've got a pretty good network of people that can help. So I really like, I've always wanted to help people. I'm kind of like this meddler. I would hear someone having a conversation at an airport and be like, I can help. Like, this is what I found out. Like, let me know if this, and some people appreciate it and some people don't. So I'm a little more chill these days, but I kind of am like, my purpose is to help business owners succeed. And that's what I want to do. And I kind of my avenue or my vehicle is I want to help them through bookkeeping and finances. So I'm just like, I'm here to help. That's kind of my, in the end, like, let me help you succeed. Because if you succeed, it's better for your friends, your family, your employees, your city, your country. Like it's the small business owners are what makes the US go.
yeah,
So
no, totally. And I like that you found that passion or that your purpose in regards to business, because I think once you find that, although the work may be hard as hell still, it makes it easier knowing that this is what you want to do and that you genuinely enjoy your work and helping people and whatnot.
I do. I mean, here's the thing. I'm crazy in that I like bookkeeping anyways.
Yeah.
Like most people don't like it. And I do a lot of, hiring interviews, and I ask them like why they like bookkeeping. And the people who like bookkeeping, they like it because it's actually really relaxing, and it's like solving puzzles. It's doing crossword puzzles all day long, but with numbers. And you got it's relaxing and you get to solve mysteries at the same time. So now I threw that in with like, let me start a company, let me build a company. And that's just like more puzzles, and it's hard as hell sometimes, but I'm like, how do I solve this, and how do I solve it in a way that I'm not going to have to solve it differently in a couple of years? Like, how do I solve this for scale? And then it's like, let's be right a majority of the time. And I think I've succeeded in that I'm right not all the time, because I've had SOPs and policies that I've written, and I'm like, well, that didn't go well, did it, guys? Let's change that. But a majority of the time, what I decided, worked and it was right. And I was like, cool, let's build on that. So, and you have to learn. And I'm always going to conferences and reading and, doing all this stuff because I want to be better at it. Like people would, when I used to be on dating apps, people, what do you do for fun? And I'm like, I go to conferences and I read books about how to be a better person and a better executive. And they're like, yeah, but like in your free time. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. Because you got to be crazy, right? Like that's what's fun for me. Let me go to a conference and meet more business owners, and then have enough knowledge to make the right decisions and know what
Yeah.
you know and what you don't know.
Totally. And for most people, that might seem crazy or weird or whatnot, but I think that's why the amount of successful people is way lower than the general populace, right? Is because that non-stop pursuit for excellence may be crazy or may be weird, but it's not for everyone, right?
Exactly, exactly. I live in Florida near the beach, and the people are like, "Oh, we go on the boat every weekend." And I'm like, "Yeah, do you see the skin? Do you know how much sun I get? Like, this is like I would burn in about a half an hour." So yeah, I mean, I like looking at it. I love living here, but no, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go I'll take vacations. I'm going to Cancun soon. My after tax season birthday, like let me do a Cancun trip and it's gonna be super fun. And it's gonna be relaxing, like spa vibes, right?
Yeah.
But like otherwise, I enjoy working. I enjoy building my company. I enjoy learning and going to the conferences and classes and stuff. So that's what's fun for me.
Yeah, totally. And totally, yeah, that's how you become successful. Never be satisfied, but be appreciative. I'm not saying to, every time you get more that you're not happy with what you have. So striking the balance between never being satisfied and continuing to work hard, but also appreciating what you've accomplished along the way is the best way because you're never going to ever be fully satisfied, in my opinion, if you
Exactly.
have that certain mindset.
Exactly. And I think that the idea that there's a balance is like more delulu because you never have a balance. You have a bunch of balls you have to keep up in the air.
Hmm.
And if you can get them all to be in the air at the same time and none of them like smashed on the floor, that's balance. But some of them might be pretty close to the floor and some of them might be high in the air. So I don't really personally believe that there's such a thing as work life balance. I don't, you always have things you have to prioritize. There's some balls that are more important at different times, but like you're never going to have the balance of being appreciative enough and wanting more. Like you only feel one at a time, like I want more. People are like be appreciative. I'm like, okay, you're right. I am appreciative. Look what I've succeeded. Oh my gosh, go me. Pat on the back. I want more. Like
Fair. Sounds good on paper.
you have to appreciate and validate what you have done while knowing you can do more.
No, that phrase is better than that. It sounds good on paper, but in practice, I'm always going to want more, and I'm sure that anyone who thinks the
Exactly.
same is going
And
to.
and that's why you're going to succeed because even if you fail, you like I have this saying, I'm like you never lose. You win or you learn. So let's say you start a business and it fails. Good, what did you learn? Go or let's say you do a sale and you fail at it. Okay, but you didn't fail, you learned. And what can you take from that for your next sale that you do?
Yep,
So,
exactly.
and as long as you persist, the only way to like fail is to stop trying.
Yes, and that is so true. That's what I love to emphasize is you never fail until you quit. Because yes, a setback, but who cares? Keep going, and you're eventually bound to be successful. You know what I mean? It's a numbers game at the end of the day with anything.
Exactly. So I think that if you have that attitude, you will succeed.
Absolutely. Maya, this has been an amazing conversation. I learned a lot from you, and I think the audience is going to derive a lot as well. For anyone who is curious where they can find you or check you guys out, for yourself, for your socials, also the business, where's the best place to find you at?
Yeah, so website is solvencynow.com. You can reach us from there. You can also email me, Maya at solvencynow.com, and Maya is Maya. I'm on, I think, every platform. I think there's probably some I'm missing, but I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Um, I'm on X now and Twitter. I made my social media. I was like, go post stuff on there. Um, I'm on Facebook. I don't know. I'm on all of them, right? So you can either find me under Maya Weinreb or you can find me under Solvency Now Bookkeeping. You could probably send a smoke signal and we'd find you. But yeah, like I always answer my messages. So someone messages me on Facebook or they message me on anything like Instagram, I always answer and I always help and I'm here to help people.
Amazing. I think you're doing great things with Solvency, and I look forward to seeing where you guys take it. And for anyone in the audience who's listening who needs some clarity on their financial situation, I want you guys to all go check out Maya, and I'll make sure to link everything in the show notes below. So
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. I hope we can do more stuff in the future.
awesome. Likewise, Maya. I appreciate it.